Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Greg Harrison had always lived by a routine you could set a clock to. Every day, his eyes would open at exactly 6 o'clock a.m., and he'd slip out of bed with the practiced quiet of a man who didn't want to disturb the peace. He'd move through the kitchen on autopilot, grinding beans, filling the kettle, listening to the faint hiss and gurgle of coffee coming to life while Amanda remained curled under the blankets, still chasing the last fragments of sleep. By 7:30, Greg would already be at his architecture office, keys in hand, mind already calculating angles and materials before most people had even checked their inbox. At T38, he wasn't just another architect with a decent job, he'd earned real respect. His name carried weight in the local commercial scene, especially among clients who wanted buildings that looked beautiful without sacrificing purpose. Sustainable designs were his specialty, but not in the trendy, buzzword way. Greg actually cared. He obsessed over the way light would enter a space in winter, how air would circulate through hallways, how a lobby's layout could make people feel welcomed instead of swallowed. And clients noticed. They didn't just hire him for the drawings. They hired him for the precision, for the way he treated every project like it deserved its own identity instead of being stamped from a template. That same focus bled into his personal life too. Greg wasn't the kind of husband who drifted beside his wife like background furniture. He paid attention. He remembered the small changes most people missed, a switch from jasmine to something warmer and spicier when Amanda changed perfumes. The way her shoulders tightened when she was stressed. The way her smile would shift when something at work was bothering her, even if she insisted she was fine. Amanda was 34, and she taught contemporary literature at the State University. She wasn't loud, and she didn't try to be. Her presence was subtle, measured gestures, a soft voice that made people lean in instead of tuning out. She carried herself with a kind of controlled calm, like someone who refused to waste energy on noise. And above all, she had an almost extreme dislike of social media. It wasn't casual or performative. She simply avoided it the way someone avoids a room full of shouting, while her colleagues filled timelines with classroom snapshots, conference selfies, vacation photos, and carefully plated meals. Amanda had an old, neglected profile that looked like it had been forgotten on purpose. 3 outdated pictures, no updates, no stories, no check-ins, nothing. Greg had always found that strangely admirable. In a world where everyone seemed desperate to be seen, Amanda felt like someone who didn't need an audience to exist. She used to say she'd rather live moments than curate them, that she had no interest in performing her life for strangers. Greg didn't just understand it, he agreed with it completely. It matched the life they'd built together. Quiet, solid, and real. 7 years into their marriage, they weren't flashy. They didn't chase chaos. They didn't create problems just to feel something. Their happiness was the kind that didn't announce itself. It sat in the steady rhythm of their days, morning coffee, shared dinners, weekends that didn't have to be exciting to be good. A comfortable routine. No excess. No drama. Just stability. The kind that made you believe you could trust tomorrow. That Thursday began the same way all the others did, unremarkable, predictable, safe. Greg was at his desk, finishing up a design for a community library, tweaking details that most people would never notice. He was refining the layout of a reading area, adjusting measurements, mentally walking through the space as if he could already hear the quiet turn of pages and soft footsteps. He was in that deep, focused place he always went when he worked, the one where time didn't really exist. Then his phone buzzed. A message notification. He glanced down, expecting something boring, maybe a contractor question, a client update, a calendar reminder. Instead, it was Jason, another architect. Same building. The type of coworker who could joke around, but didn't usually interrupt anyone's day unless it mattered. The message was short. Dude, did you see this? And beneath it, a link to a private group of former college classmates. Greg's eyebrows tightened. That group? He barely ever checked it. It had close to 200 members, and the feed was usually the same cycle. Stale memes, recycled jokes, chain messages, and people pretending they were still funny at 20. Greg had muted It ages ago, the digital equivalent of shutting a door and walking away, but Jason wasn't the type to randomly forward nonsense. If he sent something, it wasn't because he was bored. It was because he thought Greg needed to see it. Greg hesitated for half a second, then clicked. The app opened instantly to a video posted 48 hours earlier. 212 views, 89 likes, 23 comments. The number sat there like a warning sign, but Greg didn't register it fully at first. He just hit play, expecting some drunken reunion clip or an embarrassing throwback from their student days. The first 3 seconds showed the inside of a restaurant Greg recognized immediately. Lumiere, an upscale French place downtown, the kind that glowed with crystal chandeliers and polished surfaces. White linen draped the tables, folded so neatly they looked untouched. The lighting was warm and careful, meant to flatter everyone inside. Greg had only been there once, Amanda's birthday, 2 years ago. He remembered the way she'd smiled at the dessert they brought out, the way she'd insisted it was too much even though her eyes said she loved it. This video wasn't professionally shot. It had that uneasy, hidden quality, slightly shaky. The angle too low, the focus darting like the person filming was trying not to get caught. Someone recording discreetly from another table, phone tucked close, capturing something they thought was worth sharing. The camera settled on a woman seen mostly from behind, brown, wavy hair spilling over the shoulders of a navy blue dress. Greg's stomach tightened before his brain even finished the thought. He knew that dress. He didn't just recognize it, he remembered buying it, picturing it on her, feeling proud when she tried it on. It was the Christmas gift he'd given Amanda last year. The woman shifted just a little, as if reacting to a voice. The camera caught the side of her face in a brief, imperfect angle, and then she turned slightly, laughing at something the man across from her had said. Amanda. Definitely Amanda. Greg felt something strange forming in his stomach, but it wasn't panic yet. Maybe it was a work dinner. Professors went out for dinner sometimes, right? But then the man leaned across the table. Greg now saw his face clearly. Gray hair slicked back, thin-framed glasses, a perfectly tailored gray suit. Justin Mallory, dean of the university where Amanda worked. Greg knew Justin only by sight. From a few year-end university parties, Amanda had dragged him to a man in his mid-50s, always formal, always surrounded by assistants and flatterers, married for 25 years to a woman named Patricia, whom Greg had met once and found pleasant. Justin had 3 adult children. Greg knew this because Amanda would casually mention it the way people mention anything about their superiors at work. In the video, Justin took Amanda's hand across the table. She didn't pull away. He said something that made her laugh again. That laugh Greg knew so well, the one she let out when she was genuinely happy. Then Justin stood up, walked around the table, and leaned over Amanda from behind. She turned her face up. He kissed her neck slowly, deliberately as his hands rested on her shoulders. Amanda closed her eyes and smiled. The video lasted 22 seconds. Greg watched it 3 times in a row, each replay piercing deeper. His hands began to tremble. He scrolled down to comments. Man, I'm so sorry you had to find out like this. Everyone already knew, dude. Someone had to tell him. This is heavy. Who posted this video? It was his daughter, Sarah Mallory. She's destroying her dad. He deserves it, Greg. Call us if you need to talk. Greg checked the post date. Tuesday, 9:40 p.m. Today was Thursday, 1:00 p.m. 40 hours. The video had been in the group for 40 hours, 212 views. He did a quick calculation. At least half the people in that group had already seen it. College friends, acquaintances, people he occasionally ran into at professional events. Everyone knew. Everyone had seen his wife being kissed by another man, and not a single person had told him directly until now. Greg closed the app and opened his chat with Amanda. Her last message had come in at 11:00 a.m. Department meeting this afternoon. I'll be home late. Kiss. He typed, we need to talk tonight, but deleted it before sending. No, he wasn't going to give her the chance to prepare excuses, delete evidence, or craft a story. Hack their message history. On Tuesday night, the night the video were recorded, Amanda had texted, Dinner with department professors, don't wait up. Greg vaguely remembered reading that before bed. He'd believed her. Why wouldn't he? Amanda had never given him reason to doubt her. Or had she? And he just hadn't paid attention. Greg began mentally reconstructing the past few months. How many times had Amanda said she had meetings? How many times had she come home late? How many weekends had she spent preparing lectures or grading papers? He'd never questioned it. Trust had been the foundation of their relationship, or so he tried to convince himself, now sitting in his office chair as the world crumbled around him. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Jason. You okay? Want me to come over? Greg ignored it. He didn't want pity. He didn't want people knowing he was falling apart, especially since they already knew everything before he did. Greg picked up his phone and dialed Justin Mallory's office number. A secretary answered on the second ring. Office of the Dean. How may I help you? I need to speak with Justin Mallory. It's urgent. Mr. Mallory is in a meeting right now. May I take a message? Tell him Greg Horizon called. Professor Amanda Harrison's husband. Greg hung up before the secretary could respond. He left the office without telling anyone, got into his car and drove. Not home. Not yet. He needed to process, think, plan. He ended up parking at a nearby park, sitting in the driver's seat, watching kids play on the playground, normal families having normal afternoons. His normally had just exploded in 22 seconds of video. Greg reopened the video. This time he paid attention to the details. The intimacy between Amanda and Justin wasn't new. The way she leaned into him, laughed without restraint, accepted the kiss without hesitation. It was comfortable, familiar. This hadn't started yesterday. How long? Months? Years? He scrolled through the comments again and saw a new one posted 15 minutes earlier. Sarah said she found out by reading messages in her dad's phone. She was so furious, posted it everywhere, wants everyone to know. Sarah Mallory. Greg tried to recall if he'd ever seen her, maybe at a university party. A girl in her early 20s, if he wasn't mistaken, the daughter who decided to blow up her father's life. And in the process, Greg says, well. At 5:30 p.m., Greg returned home. Amanda hadn't arrived yet. He took her laptop from the desk in their home office. He tried their anniversary date as the password. Wrong. Her birthday wrong. The name of the cat they'd had in their first year of marriage. Correct. Greg logged in. It took only 10 minutes. The emails were there. Hundreds of them. Messages between Amanda and Justin that started formal and professional before escalating into something entirely different. The first intimate messages dated back 8 months to May, shortly after the university had appointed Justin as dean. Amanda had mentioned his promotion casually, saying it would mean more bureaucracy in the department. She hadn't mentioned the weekly dinners at Lumiere, the text exchanged at 3:00 a.m., or their plans to run away together someday when the time is right. Greg printed out 3 particular Livelin emails. Then he connected the laptop to the living room TV using an HDMI cable. He queued up the video. He sat on the couch and waited. Amanda arrived at 7:15. Greg heard her key turn in the lock, her footsteps in the hallway. Her bag dropped on the entry table. Greg, are you home? Her voice sounded normal, carefree. In the living room, he replied, keeping his tone neutral. Amanda walked in smiling, but the smile froze when she saw his expression. What's wrong? Did something happen? Greg pointed to the tube with the remote. I think you should sit down. Amanda glanced at the blank screen, then back at him. Greg, you're scaring me. Sit down, Amanda. She obeyed slowly, sitting in the armchair across from the couch. Greg pressed play. The video started. Huge, her face shifted as she recognized the scene. First confusion, then recognition, finally pure panic. The video ended. Silence. Amanda opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Greg, I can explain. 212 people saw this video before I did. Greg interrupted. His voice came out calm. Too calm. 40 hours. Did you know you were buying film that night? I know. Greg, please. It was his daughter who posted it. Sarah Mallory. She found out about the affair, was so disgusted she decided to publicly destroy you both. And she succeeded. Greg stood up. You know the worst part. It wasn't the betrayal. It was finding out that half my acquaintances knew before I did. Messages of pity, comments of sympathy. So sorry you had to find out like this. They saw my humiliation before I even knew I was being humiliated. Amanda began to cry. It was a mistake. I didn't want it to happen like this. Like what? Did you have a preferred way for it to happen? Greg gave a bitter laugh. Let me guess. You were going to tell me eventually when the right moment came. It's not what you think. Then tell me how it is. Please enlighten me. He crossed his arms. Amanda wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Justin and I, it was complicated. We connected. Who understood things? You know, Greg raised a hand. Don't put this on me. You're not going to make this my fault. He grabbed the printed emails from the coffee table and tossed them into her lap. May 8 months, Amanda, 8 months of lies, dinners with colleagues, working late weekends, grading papers, and here he pointed to one of the emails. You're planning a weekend getaway. When was that supposed to happen? When were you going to tell me you needed to travel for work? Amanda stared at the papers with growing horror. You went through my computer. Went through it. Greg laughed without humor. You've been cheating on our marriage for 8 months with your married boss, publicly humiliated me. And you're worried about digital privacy. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand how you could do this. How you looked me in the eye every day pretending Gevering was fine while sleeping with Justin Mallory. He watched her flinch at the bluntness. Oh, did I offend you? Sorry. Should I have used softer words? Greg, I love you. No. The word cut sharp. You don't love. People who love don't do this. People who love don't lie for 8 months. People who love don't kiss others while their husband is at home thinking his wife is at some innocent work dinner. Amanda was sobbing. Now her whole body shaking. A tiny part of Greg, the part that still remembered their 7 good years, wanted to comfort her. But the larger part, the part that had watched that video 4 times, read those mails, seen those intimate messages, was ice cold. Greg stood and started pacing the room. You know what's funny? I always thought that if something like this ever happened, I'd know. But I didn't know anything. I went about my life completely unaware while you built a parallel one. He stopped in front of the bookshelf holding their framed photos. How many of these were taken while you were already involved with him? Amanda didn't answer. Just kept crying. Answer me, Amanda. How many? He picked up a photo from their 2nd anniversary. This one? Were you already having an affair with Justin when we took this? Stop, Greg. Please, please. He lay dead without humor. You had 8 months off leaves and now you want me to be polite. He put the photo back. It wasn't like that then. How was it? When did it start? Amanda wiped her face. It was after he became dean. He called me to discuss a research proposal. We started talking about things beyond work and you chose to keep going. Greg shook his head. Don't put this on me. You cheated because you wanted to. No. I know I was selfish. Amanda raised her voice. But it wasn't just sex, Greg. How romantic. You had feelings for the married man who's probably been telling his wife the same lies for 25 years. He's going to leave you, Greg said after a pause. You know that, right? Justin has a wife, 3 adult kids, a career. He's not throwing all that away for you, especially now that his daughter knows and decided to make it public. You don't know him. I know men like him, powerful men who like consequence-free affairs, and now there are consequences. Sarah made sure of that when she posted that video. Greg pulled out his phone. By the way, have you seen how many people are commenting? Over 50 now, professors. From your university students, even Patricia, his wife, was tagged by Simeon. Amanda went pale. No. Yes, so you can forget your secretaments. It's public knowledge now. Greg put his phone away. I called his office today. Left a message saying who I was. Professor Amanda Harrison's husband. I think he'll get the message. Why? Did you know that? Because I can. Because if I'm going to be humiliated, everyone should know exactly by whom. Greg walked to the door. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk about divorce, lawyers, division of assets. I suggest you find somewhere to stay too. This house is mine. It was in my name before we got married, and it still is. Greg, wait. No, he opened the door, We're done. Amanda, it ended the moment you decided to kiss him in that restaurant. It ended when you lied to me for the first time. It ended when you turned me into a joke for 200 people. Had turned to look at her one last time. The difference is now I know. And unlike you, I won't pretend everything's okay. Greg left, slamming the door behind him. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire. The video leaked beyond the private group. University students began sharing it. Professors whispered. In hallways, Patricia Mallory filed for divorce 72 hours after the video surfaced. Justin was temporarily suspended from his deanship while the university investigated inappropriate conduct. Greg hired the best divorce attorney he knew, a man named Richard Chen, known for being relentless and unwilling to accept unfavorable settlements. Their first meeting was 2 days after the confrontation. Extramarital affairs complicate divorces, Richard explained. But in this state, adultery doesn't automatically affect asset division. However, we can use it to demonstrate breach of marital contract. Is the house in your name? Yes. I bought it before we married. Good. Joint investments, a small savings account. Maybe 30. Oh, debts? None. I pay the mortgage. She owns her car outright. Richard took notes. This hole'll be fairly clean. No kids. No, even better. With the evidence you have in the public exposure, she probably won't fight much. Especially unseemly. Dumps her, which he will. Greg nodded. How long will it take? With luck, 3 to 4 months if she cooperates, 6 if she doesn't. It took 3. Amanda signed the divorce papers without contesting a single clause. Justin Mallory indeed abandoned her 12 weeks after the scandal erupted. Patricia cleaned him out in their divorce, keeping the house, half his retirement, and a generous monthly alimony. Justin resigned as dean and accepted Ailes's prestigious administrative role at a university 3 states away. The said division was surprisingly simple. Greg kept the house as expected. The joint savings account was split evenly. Amanda took her car and some furniture. Everything fit into a 2-day move. 7 years reduced to cardboard boxes. During the process, they saw each other only twice. Once at the initial mediation, once at the final signing. Amanda arrived with red eyes. Greg signed first, handed her the pen, and walked out without a word. Amanda tried to keep teaching, but the atmosphere became unbearable. Students looked at her differently. Colleagues avoided conversations. There were graffiti and universitystrism memes circulated using frames from the video. She lasted 6 months before resigning and moving to another city. The first few months alone were hard. The house felt too big to quiet. Greg worked later hours, kept himself busy. 6 months after the divorce, Jason convinced him to attend a networking event. The event was at a modern art gallery. Greg was chatting with acquaintances about projects when he bumped into someone reaching for a glass of wine. Sorry, I didn't see. No problem. The woman replied, laughing. At least it wasn't red wine. Short brown hair, blue eyes, red-rimmed glasses. Diane Porter, Greg Harrison. They talked about architecture and editorial design. Diane worked at an art book publishing house. She'd been divorced for 3 years and had a 12-year-old son. When Greg mentioned his recent divorce, she nodded. It's stranger building your life from scratch. Extremely.it gets better. Takes time, but it does. They exchanged numbers. 3 days later, Diane called and invited him for coffee. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. Greg was honest about his story. Diane shared hers. Her ex-husband had left her with a child. And debts. Betrayal comes in many forms, Diane said. In the end, we were both hurt. Both rebuilding. Greg smiled for the first time in months. Genuinely. As for Sarah Mallory, the young woman would set everything off. Greg never met her in person. But 9 months after the video, he received a message from her on the app. Mr. Harrison, I don't know if you remember me. I'm Sarah Mallory. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for causing so much pain. I was furious with my date and didn't think about how it would affect others. You didn't deserve to find out that way. I hope you're doing okay. Greg stared at the message for a long time before replying. You did me a favor. It hurt, but it was necessary. Thank you for having the courage to expose the truth. I hope you and your mom are doing well too. Sarah replied quickly. Mom's better now, stronger. She was always strong. Just needed to realize it. As for my dad, well, he's reaping what he sweat. Thanks for notating me, Greg typed back. Andrew doesn't change the past. It only traps us in it. Good luck, Sarah, she replied with a heart emoji. Greg never heard from her again, but he remained grateful for her courage. How many people had known about the affair, but stayed silent? How many saw Amanda and Justin together and chose not to say anything? Sarah was 22 and decided truth mattered more than appearances. That took strength many adults lacked. A year after the video, Greg was back at the same park from that first terrible day. But he wasn't alone. Beside him, on a blanket on the grass, was Diane. They'd been dating for 3 months. Both knew rebuilding trust took time. They understood each other in a way Greg never had with Amanda. Diane offered him a sandwich. What are you thinking about? How quickly life changes. A year ago, I thought I knew what my future would look like. And now I don't know anything. And that is okay. He took the sandwich, but I'm happy now in a way I maybe never was before. Diane smiled. Funny how sometimes the worst things led us exactly where we needed to be. Greg looked at the playground. Normal families, but normally was an illusion. What mattered was honesty, respect, truth. His phone buzzed with a notification from the group where the video had been posted. Greg didn't even bother checking. He'd muted it months ago. He no longer needed that constant reminder of pain. He'd built something new, something real, something based on total transparency. Amanda tried reaching out a few months after the divorce. A long message asking for forgiveness. Greg read it, didn't reply, and blocked their number. Forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. Weeks later, Amanda showed up at his office. Greg instructed the receptionist to say he wasn't available. She left a letter. Greg threw it away unopened. After 2 more attempts, Amanda gave up. As for Justin, Greg heard the man never recovered. He lost his family, reputation, and position. Only his youngest son still spoke to him. Sarah and her brother cut contact. Patricia remarried 2 years later and seemed genuinely happy. 22 seconds of footage cost Justin everything. A small apartment 3 states away from everything that mattered. Greg felt no satisfaction, only indifference. They were a closed chapter. Diane nudged him gently. Are you going to philosophize all day? Or help me finish these sandwiches? Greg smiled. Sandwiches. Definitely sandwiches. And in that moment, under the warm sun of a quiet Saturday, with a woman who respected him by his side, Greg realized survived. More than that, had thrived. The video that should have destroyed him ended up setting him free. And though the path had hurt in ways never imagined possible, he was grateful he'd learned the truth, even if 212 people had seen it before he did. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.